17 minutes past 10. Back to the trouble and strife in UKIP. Let's talk now to a former UKIP MEP, Godfrey Bloom, former MEP for Yorkshire and Humber, who left the party last year. He'd been banned from speaking at events following a number of controversial comments and episodes. Hello to you, Mr. Bloom.
Good morning to you.
Do you think there should be a leadership contest to decide who the next leader of UKIP should be?
Well, I think there should, but of course this all started about 4 years ago when the constitution was changed of UKIP. They changed the constitution to put an enormous amount of power in the hands of the leader of UKIP, which of course is Nigel Farage. And so they gave that enormous power to one man. The press office in UKIP then spun the party as Nigel Farage's UKIP. Now that's all very well and good if Nigel had won his seat into Westminster, and now he hasn't won his seat, and of course it's left the whole thing rather odd and rather open. Imagine the branding of Labour being called Ed Miliband's Labour Party, and now all of a sudden Ed Miliband decided not to go. Now Nigel said he would resign, and I think that was the right thing. He felt it was the right thing, that he had to go. This is the 7th time he's failed to win a seat. Clearly UKIP need to sit down and change their strategy, and yes, there should be a leadership election, and I think the membership should be a little bit less harsh and cruel on Nigel, who's been in harness now for nearly 20 years. He's worked extremely hard. He's taken the party forward very, very well indeed, but he is clearly now an extremely tired and stressed man. Time for him to move over, one might think.
He did look very stressed on Monday morning when I was talking to him on our programme. He looked rather relaxed and jaunty, actually.
Yes, well, that, of course, is the public persona, but I think you'll find if you look back and you look on Friday morning after the election, you saw a man who was tired, and this is natural.
Everyone was tired on Friday morning, weren't they?
Of course they are.
Do you recognise this description of him as a snarling, thin-skinned, aggressive man?
Well, certainly. He's not. He wouldn't argue that his best skill is man management. He is not a man manager, that's for sure. And of course, it's 2 years since I sat round a table with him. But he is capable of. He is rather capable of some abrasive behaviour, which is why, of course, in 2009 the party started with 13 MEPs and ended up with 5. So he is not a man manager, he's not a team player, but he's very, very popular with the membership.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, you know, UKIP is going to have to decide whether they want somebody who's popular in a UKIP conference hall or popular with the electorate. Nigel had plenty of money.
Who do you want to be the leader of UKIP then?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea. I've been out of it for too long. But
well,
I think
you know the names. There's Douglas Carswell, who obviously won a seat last week. There's Suzanne Evans, who was the acting leader for a weekend last weekend. Patrick O'Flynn, UKIP MEP, who described Mr Farage as snarling, thick-skinned and aggressive.
Well, if I were as an outsider now, I would suggest, indeed, as Nigel was suggesting up until only a week ago, that the leadership really should come from the person who has been elected in Westminster. The fight is from Westminster now. Westminster is the place that we wanted to be, or UKIP wanted to be, which means Douglas Carswell. And I think, regardless of the politics or your feelings for Douglas Carswell, he's clearly one of the most highest principled men in politics. Extraordinary. He's a sort of Dennis Skinner of the right, if you will. So he's a man of extraordinary presence, and I think naturally it should step forward now, and I think for the good of the party, I think they should unite behind him. But I don't think he wants it. It's a poison chalice, so we'll have to see.
So, as far as you're concerned, actually, they don't need a contest. Douglas Carswell simply should step forward. I wonder if he was potentially thinking he'd put his name into the hat for a contest on Sunday when he started to criticise UKIP's manifesto as not being optimistic enough.
Well, I think one of the problems that UKIP have had now for several years is that any criticism, constructive criticism of policy or the leadership has got you sacked. You do not criticise the leadership and stay in office. You're out of the door at the speed of light. And so just because you're critical of policy or critical of the leadership, it doesn't mean you're critical of UKIP or the cause. And of course, now with the new constitution and the rebranding of Nigel Farage's UKIP party, it means that any criticism of Nigel is seen as disloyalty to the cause. We saw that before, did we not, in the 1930s?
What do you, when you talk to members, I mean, you describe yourself as an outsider, but you must still talk to UKIP members. What do they say?
I've got thousands of friends in UKIP, and I talk to a lot of them all the time. And they have a lot of them have a great deal of personal loyalty to Nigel, and that's understandable given he's been in office for so long. But UKIP, as I said the other day, UKIP have got to mature. UKIP have got to understand, do they want to be Nigel Farage's Purple Army of protest, or do they want to metamorphose into a political party? And we're at the crossroads now. Does UKIP want to be a pressure group or a political party? And that's a decision they're going to have to make. And if it's going to be a political party, they have to somebody who can lead a team at the top, and you have to have a team player, which Nigel is just simply not.
Thank you very much. Thank you for talking to us. Former UKIP MEP, Godfrey Bloom.